smoke makes holes in my clothes. This woman makes mountains in my driveway. Trees fall rotten on the roads. Roadways can't get you nowhere when there ain't nowhere to be, and there ain't no point in going no way. So I wander through the thorns to the sea. The sea don't really take you no place. Waves just rock me up and down. Just a salt-soaked haven from the rat race. Race that nearly made me drown. You know, a dry man can sink and shipwreck also. Dragged to the bottom by a rope. A twine tangled up around his elbows. In seas so vast they know no scope. Wild waves so deep they feel like freedom. Freedom stretched out across the sand. How could he have ever been this dumb? Sharks tear him to pieces on dry land. The lady sat out in the rain. Her hair was wet and her bank account drained. Yes, her hair was dark and black and long, but she sat without money, a mortal wrong. Such a woe and wrong that she sat tired with the rest. The rest without rest, the pests who get by on less. Those who sit in lines outside the church, waiting patient for scraps of the merch leftovers from a bloodthirsty capitalist feed. Limping hyenas have their needs too. Just because they don't get around quite so well doesn't mean they do not have hunger to quell. She sits in a frustrated, drunken fit, her daughter standing by observing all of it. Along with the rest of us hungry vultures, deemed not useful for the hustle culture, Mexicans silent except when speaking to their own. Their eyes dark with anguish from failed crops they had sown. Homeless vagrants with welfare checks, rejected southern folk with rednecks. But she spoke loudest in jarring sentences of uninhibited grandeur. She took no heed as to who to slander. She bragged about other churches which had lashed out to ban her, block out her black presence from their righteous domain. For she was one too unruly to remain, except out here waiting for bones in the rain. She explained aloud that alcohol would always be part of life, how she could not approach strife without its cool warmth. The others chuckled softly and more shyly, but agreeing there is something so freeing about getting shit-faced drunk sometimes, they thought, as the cold water dropped cruelly down from wet skies. Yes, only when drunken can one face these lies, lies of loving and untruths of brotherhood. These were tragedies the black-haired woman understood. I read that she died a few days later in the local news. Yes, the drunken find freedom, but freedom has its dues. A fire flared out violently and she was slowly slain. She screamed and tore out in one last fit of pain. I have never really been the same since the crash that fateful morning when the old man pulled his car in front of us. My father used to step on the gas to race through yellow lights. He never must be late to his ever so important teaching job. Each and every weekday morning, us kids would grab Pop-Tarts and waffles, race out to the old beat-up car, scrape ice off the windshield as our foggy breath came out like misty smoke, as the birds of autumn and early spring sang their morning songs overhead, greeting the funny, silly human creatures who always seemed to be in a hurry. Off we would go down our country road, an hour's drive each way to school, a small private school called Highland Hills, where everyone, like family, would gather around the flagpole holding hands, praying to the Lord Most High. But this particular morning I sat in back seat reading American history, only a lap belt before regulations, when all of a sudden my head flew forward. I felt like somebody punched me back and my breath was instantaneously absent. Blood streaming down from everywhere, spitting pieces of teeth upon my lap. I attempted to breathe. There were only tears. I was in shock. And just then, an angel appeared. An angel of a woman. I'll never know who. She held me close and calmed me down. Helped me to find my breath again. With a calm and a confident voice of love. A smell of a womanly lover's perfume. Love for a stranger child in need. I owe her so many of my subsequent days. I wish I could thank her now. After that fateful morning, I went back to school a few days later. Head all beat up like a professional boxer, black eye and stitches and broken teeth. Other children staring intently aghast. Such things were not supposed to happen to children. Perhaps my poor image served as a mortal reminder. Death can even come for children. Sometimes it comes to clean out space amongst both the tired and the yearning, the old and the young, despondent and the hopeful, hateful and the loving, the guilty and the innocent, sullen and smiling. Yes, danger doesn't mind what age you are. They called him here, to beneath this bridge where the birds of March sing a morning song. They called him once for a supper's evening rich, with table laden down, with goods and services laid out wide, as wooden legs squeaked side to side, above where dirty rodents abide, laying in wait their time to bide. They called him here to hear his words, to find what all he may have to say, to know his beaming light of day, to take down all which stand in his way, for his was a promise so dear to hear, so ripe with potential prose to impose. But somewhere along this grand shore he turned north or south, depending on your definition of up and down, dug into the dirt of billowing clouds, turned glancing aside of staring crowds. And now they scream righteous aloud. Let this boy we once fed have an empty mouth. Let him be condemned to expire alone. And next time he calls out, smash the telephone.